Hey, how's everyone doing? My name is Starseed Bey. And today we're gonna be talking about just talking about unity, different aspects of unity, um, and how to bring diversity together. That's what we kind of talked about when I was in School of the Mystics. Was n- there's such a diverse crowd that we have to talk to, especially with those who are lost within themselves, but it's not really the lost aspect, but really just the sense of awareness, that self-awareness. And I've been talking about that a lot. Is that to truly reach the full potential of you, um, you have to become self-aware of what you are, what you can be, and what kind of inspiration you can bring not only to yourself but to others as well. And it's so very important to realize these aspects, and it really just brings up a lot of things that I'd like to discuss and talk about, but there's just not enough time in the day. But one of the things that I really want to discuss is the whole aspect of being born again. It's talked about a lot in the Bible. Being born again, raising from the dead, the second coming, right? These things are talked about quite a bit. Um, and even throughout other ancestral awareness, they talk about the same thing about raising the dead and, you know, uh, having second lives and second chances and choices. And, this all goes into the genetics and DNA and all these other kind of different aspects. But one of the key things to realize in this self-awareness deal is to realize where is that foundation. How do you discover that foundation? um, how do you seek that foundation? I've told you guys many times, Christ, Mashiach, the anointed one, is my foundation. But it isn't just because from a religious standpoint, it's because um, just the very story and foundation that that character generated within the Bible um, really shows that you can uplift the world, and despite all of the world's viewpoints, stubborn viewpoints, limited uh, awareness, and just by the book perception, um, that you can live through. You can be who you want to be. You can question, and you can create a new aspect of self. You can create a new aspect of self. Um, in School of the Mystics, friend in there was stating that I lost my train of thought now. Maybe we're not supposed to talk about it. But oh man, I can't think of it now. But basically, the whole element of becoming self-aware is the ability to distinguish that you are more than this body, and that's what it was. To distinguish that you are more than this body. We are born into this world innocent. We're born into this world as innocent being, and the only reason why we become of the world is because we were programmed into the world. We were programmed into the world. We were not raised according to the spirit. We were not raised from where we came from, and I've talked about this before, is that we come from the womb of water, right? We come from our mother's womb, and the mother's womb is full of water. And when the water breaks, we're born. and then we begin our journey. We begin our journey, and but yeah, I mean, we get programmed with all of these s- frustrating aspects of things, and like myself, I've always questioned everything, um, always, because I just always felt like there was just something more. And even when I was little, I would just sit and talk with Christ and the angels and just say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And that's where one time when I was just in my room and there was a mirror there, I said, one day I'm going to help change the world. And now, look at now, and we're starting to see this big change of awareness, this big change of self-awareness, and it's confusing a lot of people because there's still such a uh, a dividing of all of these things, because we still have the religious deal, we have the new age thing, and what's really fascinating to me is how there is religion from all aspects, from all over the world. It's considered religious, or spiritual practices. But we have this new age concept that brings forth new ideas. And it's actually, in some ways, a breath of fresh air to people who live in this modern times. And that's what I have been talking about, is how we need to modernize things, so the masses can understand it better, so they're not having to look towards a curriculum, like a school curriculum, of different aspects of religion, different aspects of spirituality, different aspects of New Age. All these things creating dividing. We have to be able to modernize things into a more simpler way. Because I'm all about being simple. I hate big words, and I really like to make things as simple as they can be, but it's complex as well, because um, there's so many things that are beyond this reality that make us what we are, you know. And like I said in the previous video, that was something else. I was making that, man. But it looks like everything's working now. But yeah, I was talking about, how we have guardian angels, always by our side, and we're never alone in that aspect. So many people feel so lost and alone, and in the back of their mind, and this is what gets me, because I've been there myself. In the back of your mind, you you know there is something out there. You know there is something that is protecting you. And a lot of times when you get into that state of loneliness and wondering, it makes you vulnerable. But because uh, you can be stubborn or lost, um, sometimes you can get into that fear mode of, if I learned that Christ or the Creator was real, and the Creator gave me a sign, what would I do? What would I do? And that's one of the key things I think a lot of people really struggle with. Or it's the aspect of you know if God loved me, He wouldn't make me feel this way. But that's the downfall. And again, I've been there myself, man. I've always questioned that. When I was growing up, is that, Christ was always my foundation. But I did question a lot of times of, like, why am I going through the stuff I'm going through? But Christ would not give you something that you could not handle. And Christ knew that the situations that I would get into, I could handle. I could handle them. I may not have known the answer for it, but I knew that I could handle it. And I did. And I'm the person I am today because of those trials and tribulations. And they continue on. It's not just, not just a limited procession of, oh, okay, hey, I know God, I know Christ, boom, that's it. It's not, because you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. I'm always learning new things. I'm astonished on how deep this stuff goes, and people always overlook the Bible because of its religious background. But it's such a complex book, and it really opens up a lot of doorways of what we go through in life, And this video is definitely turning into something a little different than what I was expecting, but that's how the power of the Holy Spirit works within you, or that's how your guides or your ancestors work within you. When you flow with the Spirit, the words will come out. The words will come out, and it generates healing, it generates creativity, and it sparks a whole different aspect, this self-awareness aspect that I've been talking about. People are thirsty for knowledge. They continue to thirst for knowledge, and it's opening, the doorway is opening more and more and more on, trying to figure out who they are. Why is the world the way it is? Why are we being lied to so much? Lying is one of the strongest points that I am seeing right now with just my surroundings. Just seeing how much dishonesty a person can share with others. It's really uncanny to me, and how you can even live with yourself being that way. But it's just part of old programming. Again, we're born innocent, but we are programmed um, into this beast system, right? And I said that yesterday too. The prince of what is that word? Principalities, right? The prince of principalities, um, and that still is brought up, man. Um, but yeah, I could keep on going on and on and on. Like I said, I got to make this quick. I need to go to bed too. but uh, but some of the scriptures here I really wanted to kind of touch on real quick. So Romans 15:7, accept one another. Then just as Christ Mashiach, the Anointed One, accepted you in order to bring praise to God, or praise to Elohim, Yahweh. We have to learn how to accept one another. Once we learn how to accept one another for who we are, right? For who we are, then we can begin to work together. That's the key of uniting, is that we need to learn how to accept one another for what they are. Despite what people may believe or what their faith is, whatever it may be. The only way to unite and learn about each other and learn about different aspects of self, because that's what we learn. At least that's what I learn when I talk with each individual person, is I learn a lot about them, and I learn a lot about myself, because it's how you interact with those unique individuals really defines who you are. Really defines who you are, what your characteristics are, and the true beauty of you. Are you going to allow yourself to just be part of the programs, just talking about football and complaining all the time? Or are you going to open up the doorways of, hey, um, it's okay to let some steam off, but man, there's a lot of positive things we're looking at too. I mean, while you're complaining about stuff, let's look for solutions. Let's look for solutions so there's less complaining. If people are complaining, it's because a lack of solutions. And, that's what we have to look for, are solutions. We have to create solutions to create change. If we don't create change, then the world will stay the same. And, that's one of the most important things to realize is that we have to create change in some way, and it starts with just a video like this. It may not get many views, but the thing is that my voice are other people's voices too. So it generates as a whole. And I've been talking about this, and it's a great idea is that we are creating an archive of videos for the future, for the future. And because the world's going to need it. The world's going to need it. The world's going to come to a time where it's going to be so chaotic, where everything is just lies, right? Or just blowing things out of proportion, where we don't know what's real, what's not real. We don't know who to believe. We got all these public uh, um, figures, that have, thousands and thousands and millions of views, and they're leading them astray, and people are looking for alternative options on what's going on. Honesty is one of the most important things, and that's what was uh, told within my heart, is to bring up the word honesty, is that we have to learn on how to be honest with each other. I mean, is there too much honesty that can happen? Maybe, but if we have some form of honesty um, with how we walk in life and how we talk with life, it brings a sense of realism to the world, to you. People want to see real. People want to see honest. Um, People are tired and fed up of the same old um, scripted individuals, of just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. And I try myself not to really do that either, but sometimes you do have to bring up a theme, bring up a theme uh, for the videos. So it really lays that foundation. So when you hear me talk, you're gonna hear about the Spirit. You're gonna hear about Christ, Mashiach, the Anointed One. Um, I'm gonna talk about encounters that I have. Be it with ETs, uh, angels, whatever you want to call them, beings, guardians. That's what I will bring because that's my foundation. That's one of the strengths that um, that I have in my life, that keeps me on track, right? That keeps me on track. And I'm all about balance. I'm all about balance, and I'm all about healing, and that self-healing, that self-worth, that's self-awareness, and that's what I bring to the table for you guys. And that's what we have to create, is that kind of foundation. So then you're you're on your way to discovering more about self, discovering more about self. It's looking at life through a third perception, a third perception. And I've had a lot of dreams, and that might have been why I had so many dreams of me being in a third perception, where basically I'm just floating here, right? Watching myself down here interacting with characters within my dream. It was always the third perception, and it was bizarre for me. I mean, quite a few times I would actually be the person, but a lot of times I was just the observer. I was just the observer. And when I look at my life now, that's what I'm doing now. I'm the observer. I'm observing people and looking at ways to help people better their lives. I want to see people better their lives. I want to see people change their life around like I did. Like I did. I was a super depressed, negative person. Never thought that life would go my way and that life was against me. And all these things, right? That was my perception. And then one day I just woke up and I had a whole new perception. I was born again. I was born again to a whole new realm um, of life, and you can call that I was anointed with the Spirit. I was anointed with the Spirit. And, you know, we're all anointed within the Spirit. It's just we have to learn how to tap in. And that's where DNA is coming in. And I'll be making some interesting videos about DNA. There's been a lot of pieces of the puzzles um, being created and generated right now, where it seems that DNA or the bloodlines are becoming a huge thing. And when I was researching like the Illuminati and the bloodlines and all that stuff, um, when I was reading the Bible and things like that, it always talked about um, on the generation of these characters within the Bible. And I never really got why they put that in there. But the more and more I read it, and the more I've been thinking lately, is that it's in there to make you realize of just how deep our DNA goes, just how deep our bloodline goes, and just how far back our bloodline goes. Because I'm gonna have to cut this video here pretty quick, but one of the key things about what I became self-aware of, not only with the empathic abilities, because we're all empathic and we're all in tune, and that's a whole other subject that I've talked about before. But you can be in tune with your bloodline. So literally, I could sense on how my dad felt, in his younger years, or how my dad feels when he was growing up. I could feel how my mother feels. I could feel how my grandma feels, and then you can actually start tapping into um, through meditation, uh, whatever helps you tap into self. You could begin to start scanning your DNA, scanning your bloodline. And again, I talked about the Akashi records. One and the same. Our DNA is linked to our ancestors, and we can rise up or raise our ancestors up within us through our DNA. And we can learn about our family heritage through our bloodline. And also, if it is a cursed bloodline, we can learn on how to heal the cursed bloodline. We're here to heal bloodlines, and that is a huge pinpoint um, in this whole. I don't know what you say. This book of life, that we're going through right now. This book of life is the healing of bloodlines, and more likely that's probably going to be the title when I'm ready to make that video. But yeah, we're here to heal bloodlines. And when you think about that aspect, it brings unity to the table, because it really makes you look at things as a whole of, oh, hey, I can be the one that can restore my bloodline. That can restore my bloodline. There's a lot of cursed bloodlines out there. I mean, there's a lot of twisted stuff that's going on. And you can do a lot of research on that aspect of self. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be lost within it, but you just want to realize, that learning about self-awareness, learning how to heal yourself, allow yourself to grow within the spirit. Grow within the spirit's going to make you a better you. And again, I have friends who don't believe in the spirit or energy or synergy because they can't see it. But life is empty without the spirits. Life is empty without that sense of energy that flows through us. Animals is a good example. I mean, just watching the animals on how they are one with nature is beautiful. My mom and dad, they have tons of animals all over their property, from squirrels and birds and rabbits and raccoons and cats all over the place, man. But it's nice when I just drive down there and I just kind of just watch nature Watch the animals and how they're just one with each other, Squirrels, man, they just jump up and down them trees like it's nothing. But they're one with nature, They're not worrying about politics or money or jobs or things of that nature. The only thing their instinct is to just make sure they got food and just have fun with their neighbors, and that's about it, and that's where we need to be, is that we need to quit being distracted by what surrounds us and start uniting. Because once we start uniting, uh, the world will begin to change. But again, uniting means not to divide yourself in groups. Uniting means is to unite the groups together. You may not agree with everything, but we're human beings living on Earth. We're not humans who get to, oh, what is that word? I'm trying to think how to define that. We're not humans that are divided just because someone says, oh, hey, you live in the United States. You live in Japan. You live here, there, and there. That's a limited perception. We should be like, hey, we live on Earth. I live in this small area over here, and we named it blah, blah, blah. But, as a whole, we all live on Earth, and just like if you have neighbors, you got to learn on how to communicate with them, learn their personalities, and go from there, right? Just go from there. But we have to unite, get rid of the limited group aspects, and unite as a whole. And are we a long ways from that? Probably, but it starts with one person, and then it grows from there. And the world is growing every day into a whole different aspect of everything. So yeah, oh, let's see here. I guess I'll end it with this one. So 1 Corinthians 6:17. But whoever is united with the Lord or with Christ is one with him in spirit. Is one with him in spirit. And that's what it's all about. And I could keep going. 1 Corinthians 12:27. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. Each one of you is a part of Mashiach, the anointed one. And it all goes back to looking within self, that I am. And I'll say it again and again. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one goes to the Father or Mother except through me. Everything happens within you, and that's what Christ Mashiach was all about, is looking within. So I'm going to go ahead and end on that. So love yourself. Keep shining bright. Just realize your voice does matter. You can make a difference. Share your story. I highly encourage you guys to share your story. Whether it's just logging, just blogging on what you're doing in the day, or looking at nature, or just share your view of life. And the most awesome thing that you will discover when you do this is you'll learn a lot more about you and what you observe, how you view life, and the encounters that you experience in the interactions when you do these things. So all right, so I got to get out of here. So love yourself, keep shining bright, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.